Tomorrow, the president will visit a family farm in Kankakee, Illinois, with the Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, to discuss the impact of President Putin's invasion of Ukraine on the rise in food prices at home and abroad.
When Air Force One lands, the clock starts for a president on a very tight time schedule. Quite literally, every minute matters. He's going to walk down the steps and always greets a number of local officials for smiles, waves, handshakes. But much more importantly, each official gets a minute or two to press the president on something. It could be a new bridge, more money for schools, whatever they find most important. Nobody appeared to be more excited for a moment with the president tomorrow than Chicago's Mayor, Lori Lightfoot, but now, evidently, she's not going to be able to make it. Remember, Democratic mayor who just put in a bid to host the Democratic National Convention in 2024. The Democratic president is coming to town, and she suddenly has to make a trip to Texas. We know what she was probably going to talk about, mainly because it's the only thing she's tweeting about right now. To my friends in the LGBTQ plus community, the Supreme Court is coming for us next. The moment has to be a call to arms, she wrote. We will not surrender our rights without a fight to victory. Although having a firearm in the city of Chicago to protect yourself is a little bit more complicated than her call to arms. You see, the mayor wants to make Chicago an abortion-safe haven. If Roe is overturned, most, if not all, of the surrounding states are expected to add severe restrictions on abortion. Lightfoot's has plans to deal with an influx of women from other states at the expense of taxpayers. Already, she's pledging $500,000. That's just for now.
We've got to make sure that our providers here in Chicago have the resources they need to provide the services, to provide security for travel, lodging, recovery. This is going to be a monumental lift.
Certainly appears as though she was in Chicago last night. Her interview with Don Lemon was one of two she did yesterday. Over the course of roughly 10 minutes, she never once mentioned Chicago's crime problem. She also didn't mention the name of a 23-year-old man seen in this video. He's now on life support after a robbery on the city's north side. This is video of the shooting last week, one of 24 that happened over the weekend. 797 people died in deadly shootings last year in Chicago. They were murdered. That's the most since 1996, even though the city has 100,000 fewer people now than it did then. Shootings rose by 1,400 from last year, and more than 1,800 Chicagoans had their cars stolen, oftentimes at gunpoint. Of course, a mayor's time isn't as valuable or tightly scheduled as the president, but what anybody spends their time on certainly tells you their priorities. We bring in former federal prosecutor, criminal defense attorney Philip Turner with us. Now, the news that she's not going to be here just broke a couple of minutes ago. It's kind of stunning.
Right. It is very stunning. Obviously, extremely stunning. I mean, you would think that she would want to talk to the president about more resources to address this violence problem with guns and everything else that's going on in the city. It's horrific. And what happened to that young man, 23 years old, in one of the best neighborhoods in Chicago is just beyond belief.
It really is, and I'm a little bewildered by this, but for a woman who talks so much about racial equality, racial justice, racial equity, and the like, CDC just came out with new statistics for 2020, so it's gotten worse since then, saying the people who have been most hurt in this huge run-up of violence is young African-American men killed by other young African-American men. This should be her #1 priority.
It should be, and that fact needs to be published. But you never hear that come from her mouth, and she certainly doesn't address it. And quite frankly, what you were talking about before, where she said a call to arms, that was just terrible to say, because obviously it's not appropriate at all, especially these days, and especially in Chicago. You know, firearms are being used in completely the wrong way, and a complete misnomer. On how she could say something so ignorant and so inappropriate is just beyond belief.
I wanted to get you from the legal side of this as well, and it's one of the reasons we're always so happy to be able to have you on to talk about it, because you can cover this range of topics. To my friends in the LGBTQ plus community, the Supreme Court is coming for us next. This moment has to be a call to arms. We will not surrender our rights without a fight to victory. But it brings up an important point, is she must think that her citizens are also pretty stupid, because as far as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is no case right now before the Supreme Court that has anything to do with LGBTQ plus rights.
This is true. And this is merely political rhetoric that she's using and just trying to inflame a situation to try to, I don't know, to get votes or to
just
distract the voters.
Yeah,
To distract the voters from what's going on in Chicago. I mean, that it's absolute carnage in the streets. And that's what she's trying to do. And I wondered if there was any comment by her about this, about these incidents, about what happened to this 23-year-old young man and how this is an example of what's going on. But I haven't heard anything from her. But she does talk about this. And that's just to distract.
Right. No, what I think is interesting also, she had time to go on MSNBC and CNN last night. We have the screen grabs. Andrew Roberts, our producer, watched both interviews in their totality. She didn't say this about anything. She didn't say anything about the crime issue in this video. And at the same time, they didn't ask. And it's interesting. I just got a text. WGN Radio is the most local station in Chicago, 50,000-watt Clear Channel station. She refuses to come on the largest talk radio station in the city to talk about serious issues, only comes on with restrictions. I'm wondering from the legal side, even as a defense attorney, if there is starting to be a pushback against Lori Lightfoot, Kim Foxx, soft on crime. We're not going to talk about the tough issues and how to really deal with it.
Well, of course there is. But what they're doing is they're following a standard political playbook, and that is you make sure that you don't talk about these things. You script the interviews. You make sure that no one's going to ask you about those things. And the idea is that, out of sight, out of mind, although obviously the voters, people know about it. I mean, and it's a huge topic of discussion. And people are terrified in the streets of Chicago.
Yeah,
That's
well,
the only way to
when
describe
you
it.
watch
It's terror.
When you watch that video, it's hard not to be when you take your dog out at night. And she'll be in Texas tomorrow. We'll figure out why, I guess. Hey, Mr. Turner, it's always good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, good to be here. Anytime.
Yeah,
good talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.